Hello, Ryan. First question. How long have you been a firefighter?
I've been training to be a firefighter for about 3 or 4 months now.
3 or 4 months?
Yeah.
Has it been a fun experience so far?
It's been a blast. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I
Awesome.
love the chance.
Alright. Now, what's the most common fire firefighters have to deal with?
Most of them, they start out as something small. It could be just like a fire alarm indication where somebody's little smoke detector or an actual heat sensor is going off, and then they can grow from there. Most of the time out here, it's just little stove fires or a barbecue out of control.
Alright. And what kind of buildings are mostly susceptible to fires? Whether it be buildings, storefronts, or houses? Apartments?
Well, I mean, everything's susceptible to a fire. It's all about how the homeowners or the managers take care of it. But mostly, I would have to say it's little single-story apartments or single-story homes are the most common to light on fire.
Okay. In the event of a fire, what are the normal procedures the firefighters have to enact?
For firefighters, it starts with us. It starts from just knowing our first due, our area that we respond to. So we'll get the call, we'll throw on all of our equipment, and head out to the call as fast as we can. And then once we get out there, we finish throwing our equipment on, we put on our breathing mask, and then we'll grab the necessary tools. So we grab a Halligan, a sledgehammer, kind of depending on the way that the house is built, what the materials the house are built out of. And then we'll grab our quick attack, our hose lines, and go inside. We'll start what's called a fire attack, which is where we're trying to get most of the fire under control as quick as we can. And we also do a search and rescue at the same time. So anybody who's trapped or is still in the occupied house is when we'll start pulling them out.
Awesome. Now we kind of touched on this already, but just to reconfirm what we already know, what is the most common cause of house fires?
The most common cause of house fire is probably some form of cooking accident.
Cooking?
People put water on an oil fire where the oil just starts to boil over a little bit when they're cooking their pasta, and it'll hit that really hot stovetop, and that will light up while the other little bubbles that are still falling off will kind of light up with it, and then the whole kind of chain reaction ends up lighting back into the pan, and the pan catches on fire. People's first reaction is fire, put it out with water. Well, as we all know, oil doesn't react with water, especially when it's superheated, it's going to explode.
Alright. Different types of fire. Do you guys have a system where you know what kind of fire you're dealing with? Like maybe an electrical fire or an explosion?
Technology's really updated now. We actually have laptops on all our computers. So our calls go through Phoenix Dispatch. So once they go through Phoenix Dispatch, an alarm room attendant takes that call. He or she will ask questions. So the questions will be, are you out of the house? What was on fire? Do you have any kind of fire protection? So we do, while we are responding, we do get some updates on the certain kinds of fires there are. Like anything, every type of fire, we treat it differently. In Goodyear, we have all of our units have caps, so we can actually inject foam into our water. So that gives us the ability to fight different kinds of fires. There's all kinds of stuff that can catch on fire. We can have synthetics, plastic, stuff like that. We can have just your normal wood combustibles, and then we can have like metals and stuff. So all our trucks have foam. Some of our trucks have the ability to. They all have fire extinguishers. So sometimes fires can only be put out with dry chemicals. We can't use any kind of waters. They make them worse. So like your average residence, you can't. If you have an oil fire, you either smother it or you got to use some kind of dry agent to put that out. So if you had a cooking oil fire and we put water into it, it's just gonna make that fire bigger, make it get out of your hands. The technology has really helped us the last couple of years just because we can get those updates, and it helps us to kind of know what we're getting ourselves into as we're responding to the call.
All right. How long does it take you to put on your firefighter gear?
Firefighter gear is to be from start to finish clicked in on air, which is when we're breathing our tank. You're supposed to do it in under a minute 35.
Wow, that's pretty fast.
And there's two different sections. There's going from, normal shorts, putting on our bunker pants, our boots and our bunker pants, the suspenders, the jacket, our Nomex hood, our helmet, our gloves. That's one section. That's what's just called PPE, like personal protective equipment. That's got its own time limit. And then from there, we open up our breathing tank and throw it over our head, put our mask on, and then we'll click in on the regulator. And that's a whole nother time.
Can you explain to me the various severities of burns?
Well, there's first degree burn, which is just like your general been out in the sun too long, get a sunburn kind of thing. It's mostly just superficial, tenderness to the touch, redness of the skin. Your second degree burn is when you actually start to cook some of the skin, and you can actually start getting into the layers. You can start getting deeper into the skin. And then you have your third degree, which is what's called a full thickness burn. That's when you actually have some charring of the skin. You'll have extreme blistering, necrosis, when some of the skin will actually die and flake off.
So first degree burn is easily treatable?
Yeah, first degrees are easy. Get some aloe vera, some cool water. Don't do cold water, because any sort of extreme heat to extreme cold is going to cause a lot more pain. So just some cool running water, and then some ice and some aloe vera, keep it moisturized.
Alright. How many different types of burns are there?
Well, there's everything from chemical, mechanical or friction style burn, electrical, and then there's the first, second, third degree burns.
Alright. Are there any unique procedures to follow for any one type of burn?
Well, like I said, the first degree burn is just the cooling, keeping it moisturized. With all burns, you especially want to keep them clean, because you're burning off the top layer of skin. Even on a first degree burn, you can expose some fresh skin. And with that, obviously, the skin's never been exposed to the air before, so they're more susceptible to infections and stuff like that. So any type of burn, you want to make sure you keep it moist, keep it clean. Third degree burns, obviously anything like that, you're going straight to the ER.
Alright. What about an electrical burn? Do you still involve water?
Electrical burns, after you shut down any source of electricity and get the patient away from the source of the burn, depending on the severity, more than likely it's going to be a second or third degree burn. More than likely we'll apply a wet bandage to it to help keep it moist, and same thing, we just keep it moist and keep it clean, and then run them up to the hospital.
Alright. Thank you. Any advice for civilians who would want to prepare for a fire? In their own homes or anything?
I would say, it's really important. Fire grows every 30 seconds, so every 30 seconds that fire gets bigger. So if you could have a fire extinguisher in your kitchen, you have open flames. Either you have an electrical burner that heats things up, or you have an open flame with gas. So we always recommend to kind of maybe keep a fire extinguisher handy. Keep things away from water heaters. Most water heaters are gas, so keep things away from the water heaters. A lot of times with electricity heats up, that causes fire. So there's tons of stuff you can do with electricity. They have surge protectors. There's two plugs in an outlet for a reason. So don't overload it where it's going to heat up. Here in Arizona, we have urban interface. So we have a lot of places in Arizona where the desert meets residential homes. So everybody can kind of maybe cut back weeds. Don't let weeds get too big. If you live in that kind of actually out here in the West, if you live in that kind of environment, maybe make sure all your landscaping, just in case there's some sort of brush fire or something, that you have maybe 15-20 foot buffer around your property. And I would just say be aware. If you leave, blow out a candle. Don't leave candles lit. Don't leave with stuff cooking on the stove. Maybe use a crock pot instead. So I think if you just kind of keep the basics, you'll stay pretty safe.
I think also having an emergency plan in place will definitely help out. If a homeowner has some type of emergency plan in place, whether a meeting location in case of a fire, or who's gonna bring the pets out, something already in place, so that way people aren't running back in and out of a home that may be on fire. So that way somebody doesn't get trapped in trying to go back for something that somebody else already took out. So definitely having a plan in place to kind of help yourselves out, and a central meeting location, whether it be in the front yard, backyard, but somewhere away from the structure, so that when you do exit out and everybody's in that one location, then everybody's accounted for, and therefore if somebody's not home or not there, then we know that they're somewhere else or that they're still inside the structure. But a plan would be the best way to go about it as well.
Okay. So it's very important to have a fire escape plan, extinguisher in the kitchen. That's good. That's good. What are some fire safety advice that you might have for young teens? What is, the obvious, don't play with matches. Anything else that's more in depth that young teens seem to do?
I would say this, and I don't have any teenagers, and Manny has one that's almost, he could probably elaborate a little bit more, but recently with like YouTube and all these different videos, how-to stuff, I would say if you don't know anything about it, stay away from it. Matches are common, that's common sense, but there's a lot of stuff that you can get on the internet, and I would say personally be very careful with that, because most of that stuff is really dangerous. Even for us, we have hazmat teams, so anytime we get anything that's out of the norm, we have to call hazmat teams out if it's toxic, if it's explosive, stuff like that. So if I could say there's one thing, especially for that teenager group, is kind of stay away from that stuff that's on YouTube, or the stuff, all these different shows that kind of make stuff that blows up or stuff like that. Because nothing, if you don't know about it, man, something that's small can be pretty big. You can lose your life, or lose some limbs or some hands.
For me, I actually have a teenager at home. I would say the main thing is common sense, one, and two, just general safety at home. Cleaning up, not having tripping hazards, things like that. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard your parents say, "Hey, don't run with that pencil," or things like that. Just being cautious and careful with sharp objects, just cleanliness, making sure things are maintained, put away. So those kind of things do make a difference, because you eliminate potential hazards, and that's key. Especially with teenagers, being able to remind parents, hey, maybe we should switch out batteries every 6 months, every year. Just little things like that help maintain a home safe, and also definitely just communicating with your friends and family. Hey, if there's an emergency, this is the plan, and this is what we're going to do. It may seem kind of like overkill, but in an emergency situation when people are panicking, you definitely need somebody that can have the right mindset, take control, and make sure everybody gets out safely. So obviously that communication with family or with friends, or having somebody over, or just going out in the backyard in the pool, making sure that somebody doesn't go out there by themselves, or somebody's paying attention, making sure is everybody accounted for. Just the little things can make the big difference in an emergency situation.
All right, good. And now, do you have any fire safety advice for adults?
Again, along the same lines, is just maintaining the safety of a home, the equipment. The big one keeps coming up is smoke detectors. detectors, and that's just because that's the first line of defense for people at home. If you're asleep at 2:30 in the morning and the first thing you hear is that smoke detector going off, then you're automatically going to get up. And if somebody doesn't take the time to maintain that simple working safety device, when there is a real emergency or if something comes up, if that device isn't working, then you've eliminated yourself that first line of defense. And with you guys as cadets in the military, you know how important that first line of defense is, and so that goes along the same line in somebody's home. Wearing seat belts in automobiles, huge safety factor. So that's your first line of defense, and making sure all those things are maintained and in proper working order is going to be the key for adults, teenagers, children, and as a parent, ensuring that those things are in place for your family is key as well.
Alright, last question. If you had any advice for kids about fire safety, what would it be?
My biggest piece of advice for fire safety is if you smell smoke or you see fire, call 911, get everybody out of the house. Don't worry about pets, don't worry about your favorite stuffed teddy bear or your playing deck of cards. Just get your family and get out of the house, call 911.
Alright. Well, thank you, Ryan, for all your assistance and wonderful wealth of knowledge. Now, on a personal note, in your career as a firefighter, is there any one incident that stands out to you the most? Something that may have happened that touched your heart or inspired you?
We actually just recently had a call where it was an elderly person, and not to get into too much of her personal information, basically didn't have any family here, and Captain Chavez was actually able to go above and beyond what we normally do as far as just running a routine call, and get her some outside assistance to what we call adult protective services. And basically what it is an outside organization that comes in and provides services to the elderly or folks that are kind of on their own. And this is she was a perfect candidate for that. So for me and for this recent call we just had, it's one of those opportunities to we can actually do something more for this individual to help out a quality of life for them. And so those are the type of calls that really stand out to where you can make a difference or an impact on somebody's life, to where when you're done helping them out, they have a better chance or some resources to help them out, to have a better quality of life is pretty much the type of calls that really stand out and we remember in those type of situations.
There and they have issues and we fix them for them. We don't leave until that problem is resolved. So I couldn't put it on one particular one. I'm just saying overall, I mean, we get to do that on a daily basis, and I think we're fortunate, to be able to do that. We're public servants, and we help people, and that's what we do. No matter what it is, night, day, if it's raining, if it's the littlest thing or the biggest things, we make sure that we can help them or get them the help that they need. So.
All right. Thank you for all your wealth of knowledge and advice. It's been a pleasure. Okay.
Fire and light it up. These things are great at nighttime. I mean, just high visibility, so you can see. This is where our trucks are yellow. Loud, it's fire.
make sure when you take this off,
It's the tripod.
grab onto this.
It's an action.
Because if not,
Dun,
this
dun,
is
dun.
gonna
Okay,
roll
whoops.
inside of you. Out of your jacket, you gotta make sure you hang onto it as you take it off, kind of thing.
I'm gonna have to edit this now.
It's an action film.
And then grab onto the other one. Take it off.
This thing keeps your ears warm.